My name is June Myers. I always say that I grew up in a Christian home, but I don't really, being an adult now, close to 60, I know that really wasn't the case. We went to church, but it didn't come home with us. You know, I know my dad was a believer. My mom, her idea of God was solely based in the Old Testament. It was hellfire and brimstone, and you know, God's powerful, and you do all these bad things, and He's going to pretty much hurt you. He's going to send you to hell. My mom also had mental problems, but she always used to tell me when I was little that I got saved when I was 3 or 4, and I already didn't believe anything she said, so I kind of tend to argue with her all the time. I know I don't have every memory of that. And for me to base my whole life on this, there had to be something that I remembered, that's something that I knew about. I have like 2 sisters and a brother. There's 4 of us all together, and we lived out in the country. And the sister that was next in age to me, there was 8 years difference, and her and I were like really tight. And I can't tell you when it was. She was still home, so I was probably like 6 to 10. And we were out walking in the woods in the meadow, and we have a great big pipe that we'd sit on that the stream goes through. And I remember sitting on the pipe with her, and her telling me the plan of salvation and telling me about God and how to get saved. And I don't know if it was maybe because it was her, but if it was good enough for my sister, you know, it was good enough for me. And I'd gone to church, and you know, I remember like we went faithfully every Sunday morning, every Sunday night. But I know that that's when I gave my life to the Lord. My mom, with her mental illness, she decided that the appropriate good mother thing to do was to put me in Christian school. So we used to go to Limerick Chapel. I remember I was baptized at Limerick Chapel, but then we got a little older, and in 5th grade, my mom put me in school. We started going to Calvary in Lansdale. So she put me in school there, so I went through school and graduated there. But throughout that whole thing, my dad would take me to church. But I remember at Calvary going to school there and being there for the youth group and going to church there. We had an evangelist that would come in, the same one every year. So I remember when we'd have these services, I always remember feeling very unsure of myself. Like, did I really do this? I know when it happened, but did I really mean it? And looking back on it now, I realized that, and no one ever told me this, that it wasn't about me, that, you know, I'm upset. It was never about me, it was always about God and what Jesus had done for me. And sometime in the year, I can't tell you when I was a teenager, I don't know if it was because of the evangelistic messages or whatever, but I was just fed up with it. As a teenager, I was like, every time somebody preaches something really, and it scares the life out of me, I'm like, well, did I really mean it? Am I going to go to heaven? Am I going to go to hell? And I finally, you know, on my own said to God, I said, this is it. I said, either you did this for me and I trust you with it, or we're done, you know? And it was kind of, there was such a peace. And I mean, I know that I was saved when I was a kid, but salvation without assurance is horrible. And it was just so great that I've never, from that moment, I've never stopped. I've never looked back. I know what God did for me. I know it's all about Him. It was not about me. And in the past, like 10 years, I had somebody say, a preacher say that God pursued him, God pursues us. And I thought, you know, I never had anybody say that before. That is really cool. I mean, you know it up here, but when you know it down here, it's just really neat. You know, I always want to, this is crazy, I've never said this to anybody before, but now I'm saying it to millions of people. But I always thought it wasn't fair because God picked the children of Israel to be His, and I so wanted to be His. And I don't know, somewhere along the line in the past 15 years, I don't know if it was through a message or whatever, but the Lord touched my heart and he said, don't you understand? I did pick you. And I thought, it's like God's just so amazing, all the things that he's done for me throughout my life. And I know that, I can look back and say that even though I didn't grow up in the greatest of homes, that God kind of picked that family for me because he knew I was going to be stubborn and bullheaded and do what I was going to do and marry the man I was going to marry and make all the mistakes that I was going to make in life. And it was kind of like, I'm preparing you. If you can put up with this and you can handle this, you can do this, this, and this, and I can do this with you. And he's just carried me through everything. It's just so amazing. In the past year or 2 years, I kind of just felt the Lord leading me away from where I was going to church. I was really involved there, but it was just really feeling kind of constricting. I don't know. And so we started visiting, me and my son and his wife, and we all started visiting different churches. And it was just really cool in the background that I grew up in. You were marked by what you didn't like and what you hated and what was, you were a Christian if you didn't do this and this and this and this and this and all that stuff. And for the longest time, there's been this unrest in me for years that, no, that's not right. I don't see that in the Bible. I mean, yes, you have a hatred for sin, but your hatred for sin can't be any stronger than God's hatred for sin, and God loved me, so, and he didn't come at me saying, you're a bad person and you need me because of how, well, I mean, he did, you need me because of how evil you are, but he didn't condemn me for that. He reached his hand out and helped me. And, church is a place where you need to go where people have all fallen and they all have problems, and it's a hospital. It's not a place where everybody's arrived. And in visiting churches, it was like, wow, I was always told this was not a good church, or they don't do it right here. And I started visiting them, and I'm like, it's not like that. The people are, they're sinners like me, and I might not like this, or I might not like that, but is that where I'm going to draw the line? Is that what is Christianity? Is that what it's all about? Is that what's really important? And I had a friend, and we were talking the one day, and I had never, by that point I had visited probably 10 different churches. And we just, this one was too far away, and this one was too far away for everybody to come, and this one, they didn't have a pastor, so who knows what it's going to be like a year from now. Do you want to commit? And, Lord, I never ever thought of faith. I've been to 10 different places in the area and I never thought of faith, and I thought, well, hey, why not? Let's give it a shot, and I came here and I love it.